Hello, good morning. You're watching Market Cafe on ET now with me, Vinny Motiwala. Along with me is Ankita as well. Ankita, very good morning to you.
Very good morning, Vinny.
And happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
But I hope there is a happy Monday coming in on the D Street. What are the cues that we're getting?
It is not, Vinny. I mean, did we see that SVB debacle that happened on Friday? And of course, on the back of that, the US stocks tumbled as tech-focused lender Silicon Valley Bank shut down following losses in its bond portfolio, prompting the biggest bank failure since the global financial crisis and sending shockwaves through the banking sector. Now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped for a fourth consecutive day, finishing 345 points lower. The S&P 500 lost 1.4% and the Nasdaq Composite shed 1.7% in trade on Friday. Now, all the major averages capped off the week with losses. Now, the Dow fell 4.4% to post its worst weekly performance since June. The S&P 500 dropped 4.5%, while the Nasdaq lost 4.7% for the week. Now, if you look at the stock futures, those stock futures jumped at the opening as regulators announced yesterday the backstop of SVB depositors, and the Federal Reserve Board also announced yesterday that they will allow access to SVB deposits starting Monday, which is today. We'll discuss that later as we progress. But let's look at the roundup of the European markets on Friday. Now, they also closed lower on Friday, led by a sell-off in the banking sector. Of course, the Pan-European Stock 600 index provisionally ended the session down 1.5%, with all the sectors and major bosses in the negative territory. The banking stocks, of course, led the losses, down 3.9%, followed by the financial services, which lost 2.8%. DAX and CAC both down 1.3%, and the FTSE was down more than 1.5% in trade on Friday, Vinny. That was a roundup coming in from the US and the European markets. Of course, a big banking financial crisis that happened in the US on Friday. Where's the crude at?
Absolutely. Let's talk about the crude prices, Ren. And as of now, we're checking, mild opening coming in terms of the crude prices this morning. Let's not forget, on Friday also, we saw the oil prices actually climbed up more than 1%. But then we've seen a bit of a fall coming in this morning, almost flattish as of now. Brent crude oil prices, what I'm looking at, $82.75 per barrel is what Brent crude it has currently. WTI crude oil is at around $76.7 to be precise in terms of the prices as of now as well. Better than expected US employment data is a factor that we are keeping an eye out on as well. So keep an eye out on that. As of now, that's the update that we're getting in from crude. A mild opening this morning for the crude oil prices.
All right, and let's quickly take you through the events that you need to keep an eye out for in today's session. Of course, we have the big India CPI number that's due as of today. We will be tracking that closely. And the CPI is expected to ease to 6.29 from the 3-month high mark of 6.5% hit in January. That's an important number that we will be, of course, tracking very closely at ET Now. Also, we have the Yes Bank's lock-in period that is ending as of today, and Global Surfaces IPO opens today for subscription. Also, we have GAIL, Sun TV and Nalco that will have their board meetings to mull over dividends, and we have the budget session of the Parliament that will be resuming as of today. Also, we have UCAS meet between Sunak, Biden and the Albanese ministers as of today, and we have the Uttarakhand budget session which will begin today, that is 13th of March. These are the events that we will be keeping an eye out on. Vinny, take us through what are the global headlines?
Absolutely. Let's start obviously with the big one that is coming in from SVB. The US government rules out SVB bailout, but the US regulator announced plans to backstop both depositors and financial institutions associated with bank, seen as a move to stem further systematic risk. Now, regulators took control of the startup-friendly bank on Friday after the medium-sized bank declared its inability to stay afloat on its own.
And of course, staying with the news flow on the cash-strapped Silicon Valley Bank Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen said she has been working to address the concerns in a timely manner. But a major government bailout is off the table. Assures Americans of the resilience of US banking system, says banks remain well capitalized.
Shifting focus from US to UK, Jeremy Hunt, the United Kingdom Chancellor, flagged off the serious risk in Britain's tech and life science sector following the closure of California-based Silicon Valley Bank. Says the Bank of England sees no systemic risk from the SVB fallout. Amid turbulent economic conditions, says the country's spring budget focus will remain on competitive business taxation and increasing investments.
The crypto industry, New York State financial regulators closed Signature Bank. This is the third largest failure in the history of US history in a matter of just 48 hours after the Silicon Valley Bank rout. Do you remember, this is the same bank that came under regulatory lens with the collapse of the FTX crypto exchange last year.
And moving on, Saudi state-controlled oil giant Aramco delivers a record $161 billion worth profit for 2022, the largest annual profit ever achieved by an oil and gas company. The company recorded a 46% growth in income over preceding year from $110 billion in 2021. The company's free cash flow hit the $148 billion marked versus the $107 billion marked in 2021.
And on to some geopolitics. Both Ukraine and Russia have incurred heavy life losses as the battle for industrial city of eastern Ukraine, Bakhmut, rages on. Ukrainian President Zelensky said Russian forces have suffered over 1,100 deaths over the past few days. Russia, on the other hand, said it has killed as many as 220 Ukrainian service members over the last 24 hours.
North Korea launched 2 missiles from a submarine in the Sea of Japan. Reports suggest that the strategic cruise missiles were launched. Now neighboring South Korea and United States kicked off their largest joint military exercise in 5 years. Both Washington and Seoul have ramped up defense cooperation in the face of growing threat from North Korea, which has conducted a series of banned weapons tests in the recent months.
And China has named Li Qiang, a close confidant of Xi Jinping, as the country's next premier, placing him nominally in charge of the world's second largest economy. Li was nominated by the president and appointed to the position with no dissenting voice at Saturday morning session of the National People's Congress.
And all eyes on the 95th Academy Award, which is underway. 3 nominations from India in the Best Song, Best Documentary Feature and the Best Documentary Short categories. Notably, this is the first time India-made productions have earned so many Oscar nominations.
Well, Oscars underway, Winnie. Clearly, we won't be able to watch it today. But moving on, after battling 2 years of global health pandemic, another health concern is rearing its head. Now, causes of flu, particularly the H3N2 virus, has been rising in India over the past few months. And now 2 deaths, one in Karnataka and the other in Haryana, have been reported by the Union Health Ministry. Now, so what is this H3N2 virus and what can you do to protect yourself? Here's an explainer. Let's take a look.
After battling 2 years of a global health pandemic, another health concern is rearing its head. Cases of flu, particularly the H3N2 virus, now has been rising in India over the past few months. And now 2 deaths are reported, one in Karnataka, another in Haryana. These have been reported by the Union Health Ministry. So the question is, what exactly is the H3N2 virus and what can we do to protect ourselves against it? Well, the H3N2 virus is a subtype of viruses. It causes influenza. This subtype of influenza A virus was first discovered in the year 1968 in humans. While it causes illnesses every year, the virus has been in wide circulation for the past 2 to 3 months. and it's causing more hospitalizations than other subtypes this year. The symptoms include persistent cough, fever, chills, breathlessness, and wheezing. Patients have also reported nausea, also sore throat, body ache, and diarrhea. These symptoms usually persist for about a week. Most of these symptoms are similar to the ones that were experienced during COVID-19, and it has triggered concern among people. The infection can be severe for high-risk groups like older adults and children. People with weakened immune systems and chronic medical problems, they are also at higher risk because of this virus. Doctors have advised COVID-like precautions. They include regular washing of hands, wearing masks. The Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, has suggested covering one's mouth and nose while sneezing and coughing, drinking plenty of fluids, and avoiding touching the eyes and the nose. The Health Ministry is expecting the virus to decline by the end of March. Of course, while there is no immediate reason to be alarmed, there is every reason to mask up and stay cautious. Any negligence at this stage will only be an invitation for the H3N2 virus to push us into another major health scare.
Thank you so much for that, Vikram. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Viewers, don't go anywhere because we'll be back with more domestic update after this break. Welcome back, and you're watching Market Cafe on ET. Now, let's go across and get in some news for the hearing impaired.
संसद के बजट सत्र का दूसरा चरण आज से होगा शुरू। दोनों सदनों में अहम विधायी कार्य सूचीबद्ध। 6 अप्रैल तक जारी रहेगा ये सत्र। गुवाहाटी में आज से सर्वोच्च लेखा परीक्षा संस्था साई 20 के वरिष्ठ अधिकारियों की पहली बैठक का होगा आगाज। ब्लू इकोनॉमी और रेस्पॉन्सिबल आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस पर होगी चर्चा। वित्तीय संकट से जूझ रहे सिलिकॉन वैली बैंक का मुख्य कार्यालय और सभी शाखाएं एक दिन के लिए खुली। जमाकर्ता अपने बैंक खाते आज सुबह के बाद नहीं कर पाएंगे एक्सेस। अमेरिका का राहत पैकेज देने से इनकार। अमेरिका के लॉस एंजलिस के डॉल्बी थिएटर में ऑस्कर अवार्ड 2023 किए जा रहे हैं घोषित। ऑस्कर के लिए नॉमिनेट आरआरआर के नाटू नाटू गाने से भारत को हैं बड़ी उम्मीदें। अभिनेत्री दीपिका पादुकोण भी बनेंगी अवार्ड सेरेमनी का हिस्सा। भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच अहमदाबाद में खेला जा रहा चौथा टेस्ट का आज अंतिम दिन। भारत ने पहली पारी में 571 रन बनाकर ली 91 रन की बढ़त। विराट कोहली ने 3 साल और 4 महीने बाद खेली शतकीय पारी। FIH प्रो लीग में भारतीय टीम ने ऑस्ट्रेलिया को रोमांचक मुकाबले में 5-4 से दी शिकस्त। भारत के लिए हरमनप्रीत सिंह ने लगाई हैट्रिक।
Well, with that, it's time for us to slip into a short break. But before that, we'll quickly take you through the lineup for the market. At 8:05, we have Geoff Dennis, the emerging market commentator, who will decode the SVB fallout for us. At 10:20, we have Nilesh Shah of Kotak AMC on the SVB fallout and its impact on India. At 9:35, we have Ashish Bhandari of Thermax Group on the green hydrogen push. At 9:45, we have Jinesh Gandhi of Motilal Oswal Financial Services on his account of the street. And at 10:20, we have Rishi Nathani of MCX on the launch of mini contracts. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Ankita Saxena, and with me is Vinny Motiwala. Let's quickly move on to news coming in from the domestic front now. The net direct tax collections as of March 10th has jumped 16% on a year-on-year basis. According to the data from CBDT, it has reached 83% of the revised target for FY23. While the gross direct tax collection for FY22-23 has come in at 16.68 lakh crores, higher by 22.5%. Talking about refunds, so far 2.95 lakh crores have been issued, which is 59.4% higher than refunds issued during the same time last year.
Let's move on and talk about HUL, because now we have Rohit Java, who will be taking up the reins at HUL from June onwards. That's going to be 27th of June 2023. He will be taking over his reins from Sanjeev Mehta. Sanjeev Mehta is resigning after 10 years at the helm of HUL. Let's talk about Rohit Java's move and where is he coming from currently. He's working at Unilever London. He's at the Chief Transformation Office in Unilever London. So he will be taking the place now as the new MD and CEO from 27th of June. From 1st of April 2023, he will be appointed as the whole-time director of the company till 26th of June 2023. So post that, that's 27th of June, he will take up his role as the new MD and CEO. Do not forget, he started his career in HUL as management trainee in 1988. And let's not forget Sanjeev Mehta's helm and how is this decade actually of his being the new MD CEO and taking the reins at HUL. How did that work out? Because the business actually at HUL managed to cross that rupees 50,000 crore turnover mark as well. The market cap of the company over these years has increased from $17 billion to $75 billion. That's almost a 4 times growth in terms of your market cap as well. Stock return, when you look at it, annualized return also, that is coming at 17.6% for HUL versus the peers over this period when Sanjeev Mehta was the MD and CEO, it's only 9.6%. Even in terms of sales growth, sales has doubled over from 2013 to now. Operating margins, 900 basis point expansion when you look at it till 2022 numbers, obviously, which we have till date, while profits have seen a 2.3 times growth as well. Do not forget, in December, we did have an idea that, HUL was looking for a new MD and CEO. There were 2 candidates. One was Rohit Java, other one was Priya Nair as a CEO candidate. And now, obviously, Rohit Java has emerged as the new MD and CEO. Very important for FMCG companies because it has a significant influence in terms of the new CEO. In terms of the financial performance, investors are always concerned about what will be the new strategies, how will that unfold, impact on the earnings of the new leadership, and leadership changes in the industry have a yield in terms of lucrative result for the companies as well. So very important when there is an announcement made in terms of the changes for the new MD and CEO.
Right, Vinny, and speaking of the changes, there is another news coming in for a head honcho appointment at Tech Mahindra. Tech Mahindra board has appointed Mohit Joshi as the MD and CEO for 5 years. Now, he will take charge on 20th December 2023. And he has worked at Infosys before this, where he has served as the ex-president and head global financial services and software business at Infosys since the 2000s.
Okay. Let's move on and talk about Yes Bank as well. Although the lock-in window opens for Yes Bank shareholders, but the bank is officially not out of the reconstruction scheme. E.T. Ram has learned that Yes Bank has to take the approval from RBI that it has met all conditions needed to come out of the scheme. The central bank will decide whether reviewing all the documents and the bank did not respond to E.T. Ram's query as of now.
And well, another corporate rejig, IndusInd Bank has reappointed the MD and CEO. The RBI has approved Sumant Katpalia, and he has been reappointed for the next 2 years. Now, Mr. Katpalia, he has been the CEO and MD since March 2020, and of course, he's been the part of the management team that he had joined 15 years ago, so 15 years of career with the bank. And of course, prior to this, his role was as the head of Consumer Bank and IndusInd Bank, and he played a rather pivotal role in turning around of the bank and setting up of new business to cater to individuals and SMEs. He played a big role in leading those changes, and of course also led to the expansion of consumer distribution franchise. So, if you look at the previous work portfolio of Mr. Katpalia, he's also worked with Citibank, Bank of America, and ABN AMRO. So this was his profile for the IndusInd Bank, new reappointed CEO and Managing Director.
Okay, let's move on. And the stocks like NTPC and SBI offer robust earnings visibility. That's the word coming in from Rajiv Jain of GQG Partners, who invested 15,000 crores in Adani Group. Listen in to why he's bullish on these names as well.
If you were sitting here in 2005, SBI used to trade at 15-20% premium for foreigners. Foreigners couldn't buy at the market, by the way, right? So like everything else in market, that is the sentiment is cyclical, and I think in our opinion it'll change. But the good news is the way we think about it, that our job is to get earnings growth and the dividend combination right. If the valuations increase, that's wonderful. But even if they don't increase, we should be able to compound at double digits. So that's how we think about it. So we don't wait and hope for others to agree with our view. Maybe they never agree. But in the meantime, the earnings growth plus dividend gets us to double digits. We are happy owners.
Ajit always insisted that market price is a function of EPS into PE. PE is perception, EPS is growth. In Indian market, where do you think there is scope for PE expansion as well as EPS expansion, and where do you think there is scope of only EPS expansion and no PE expansion?
Yeah, I think the second bucket, you'll get the companies like Nestle's of this world. I think these companies will continue to deliver, but Nestle, I don't know, 70, 75 times, something like that earnings. I've kind of lost track. And Nestle, as you know, was a large position for a long time. So could they be derated as the earnings growth shifts away to other areas? Because you have to look at one aspect. Over the last decade or so, globally, earnings growth was on a slower side. So a lot of these defensive type businesses were re-rated because investors look for growth, including us, right? So growth was scarce. Now, and interest rates were low. So you got a bubble in tech, not so much in India, but elsewhere. On the first bucket, look, I think we talked about some of those. I mean, State Bank of India, why does they have to sell at 8 times earnings? Because I think they'll grow at mid-teens plus earnings. So could they deliver those returns? If they keep delivering those returns, could the multiples be higher? I think so. In fact, even some of the private sector banks have recently been derated too. So in fact, I would argue that most of the names that we own have a reasonable chance of multiple expansion. But if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world.
What makes you so bullish on State Bank of India? I've spoken about State Bank of India at least 4 or 5 times in this conversation. Are you not worried about, and again, I'm being a devil's advocate here. My personal view in State Bank of India is very bullish, but here I'm asking a question as a commentator, that their return ratios are not the best in the industry. Their ROA is just about 1%. Private banks in India pretty much have better return ratios than SBI.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes you so bullish?
I think if you look at the corporate side, besides ICICI, I think they're probably one of the better positions on the corporate book. But I think the question always is what is discounted in the price? So yes, I agree the return ratio is not as good, but who would be able to grow earnings at mid-teens plus in a much more consistent manner, and what the market is not anticipating? I think that's where we believe the rubber meets the road in terms of the gap between what I say perception and reality. So at 8 times earnings, if you take a 5-year view and they grow earnings at, let's say, mid-teens plus, it becomes a fairly attractive proposition. Especially because they have a much better. I mean, there are a lot of private sector banks who have really no experience in lending to the corporates, by the way. But that was a strength for them. But could that become a weakness going forward?
Okay, let's just look at how the Asian markets have opened up as well. Given that, obviously, we were seeing a bit of a slightish more fall in the US markets because of the SB bank issue. Now, Asian markets this morning have opened up in the red as well. Look at Japan's Topix, that has fallen more than 2% in a trade at this morning, leading the losses mainly in that region. And in Japan, when you look at it as well, SoftBank has seen a sharper fall and a sharper drop of almost 2% as investors are quite worried and assessing the fears coming in from the SVB bank fall as well. Even Nikkei 225 has fallen 1.76% in trade as well. We've seen, other than that, Shanghai too, a slight gain, slight bit of gain that we're seeing coming in for Shanghai this morning. Like you can see on your screens, 0.33% uptick there. Hang Seng too, seeing some bit of gains there as well, up almost 2% in trade this morning as well. So keep an eye out on that one. Kospi, a decline is what we're seeing, 0.6% down in trade. So yes, a bit of a mixed opening coming up in the morning. But what we're seeing interesting is the SGX Nifty. When we started the show, SGX Nifty was down around 0.4% in trade. So a bit of a recovery that we're seeing coming in on your screens in terms of the SGX Nifty, down only 0.25% as of now as well. So how is the start going to be for an Indian market is something that we're watching out for as of now. Seems like a bit of a muted to a bit of a red start as of now for the Indian markets as well.
Alright, muted start is the word coming in for the Indian markets. And with that, it's time for a quick breather. You don't go anywhere. After the break, we go more stocks. Welcome back. You're watching Market Cafe. Now, there are several merger synergies for HDFC Bank, says the CFO Srinivasan Vaidyanathan in his first ever TV interview. Now, he adds that they will boost mortgage and liability penetration, shares the roadmap for growth post the merger.
Mortgage is an important product for a household, right? Now, when you have a mortgage product being given to a customer, the engagement time with an individual and typically with a family is 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
As opposed to another product which could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. This is a longer drawn, right? 30, 45 minutes. So you have the kind of an attention of the customer. So that at mortgage, and you get lots of documentation in the process of mortgage. And if you're able to give a mortgage, we are now trying to work in a process in which a savings account is a process that we want to have along with the mortgage product. So if you get a mortgage, you need to have a savings account with us. So you have that in a conjoint manner rather than go afterwards and get a savings account. So it's joint.
So in layman terms, just to understand the scope of Synergies, how many of your banking clients or account holders would be doing a lot of other business with entities outside? And if you must have estimated internally that how many of the mortgage clients or HDFC Limited would be doing the banking relationship outside? So if they could come together.
Yeah, that's part of the synergy opportunity. See, in our bank, we have mortgage penetration less than 2% of our customer base. Very meager. And we see that more than 5% of our customer base have mortgages outside. That's because of the reach, because two organizations, HDFC Limited and HDFC Bank, distribution strength is different.
Sure.
And so thereby, people have gone somewhere else where closer to their home or closer to their place, and they've taken that. So the part of the synergy opportunity is that. So we capture our customers' needs ourselves and not let it go out, right? That's one of the important. Then the other aspect of this is, as we give mortgages, giving a credit card should be an easier process to do, right? Because you are evaluating a person's credit for a mortgage. You need to get the credit card in the hand. So your card becomes the primary card for them to use, right? A consumer durable, most of the homes in India need consumer durable. It's not pre-fitted for most part, not in the common, the middle class. So we are one of the largest financiers of that from a bank financing point of view. So we are making that also into a package offering where we give that. Right? A home necessitates protection, life protection, so that the family is protected and is able to live in the home if, God forbid, something were to happen. So we do have on the shelf a life protection, a general protection and all of that. So these are all the products that are getting tuned to be offered with the mortgage as the fulcrum around which these products are getting in there. So these are the synergies that, and the last you asked about is HDFC Limited customers. Yes, about 70% of HDFC Limited customers do not have banking relationship with us. So we need their liability relationships here. So that's part of the synergy process that we are trying to tap into to see how we get them onboarded here.
So before I come on the retail part of the loan book, I want to understand how is the corporate end of the loan book behaving in terms of their behavior towards fresh credit, be it your SME kind of book, rural book, and of course the corporates. Because the fact of the matter is that rates in the system have edged higher, and from now also it likely to edge higher. So what kind of conversations are you having?
See, the larger the corporates, they come with the rate view because professionally managed money managers who are there in the corporates, so they have quite a view of where the market is heading, the rates are heading, and so there's intense discussions that will happen in terms of the credit. But working capital is something, as I said, is inevitable and people have to finance. And from a project financing, it takes time, over a period of a longer term it comes. But good demand on that front, and people, it is not as interest rate sensitive from a working capital credit offtake because ability to pass on is important, and that happens at both the SME level as well as on the wholesale level. People are able to pass it on. So that's, and then when they pass it on, does it impact the consumer spending at the end? It is reflected in the price of the goods and services at the end. Is it reflected there? It is. Does it matter? Does it matter to the overall economic growth? It doesn't. India is a high interest rate country for most part, right? Operating at a 6% to 8% kind of an interest rate is not something that is new in the country. Over a longer period of time, that's something we have seen that. And over this kind of period during those interest rate regime, the growth rate has also been very robust.
Sure.
And so that's part of how the economy has been functioning very well.
You have a very large part of your loan book now on the semi-urban and rural side as well. And there's again and again this argument coming on the table that there's a K-shaped recovery in the economy. Perhaps the lower end, inflation and higher rates both have been pressurizing the lower end of the customer or consumer. What are your thoughts on rural and semi-urban smaller ticket?
See, it is absolutely right that the K-shaped recovery is something that is visible and one sees that. But our banking customer target segment is above certain customer segment level. So we're not experiencing directly that particular segment which is impacted. It is true that inflation, disposable incomes are less at the lower levels. So that is part of the impact which is there. And coming out of the COVID, the most impacted customer segment from COVID was that segment, where the jobs were less, or daily earners or the weekly earners, so the impacted people who are there. So now coming out of that, whereas even in the semi-urban and rural that you alluded to, where 60% of the country is, our target segment is not all of that 60% of that rural India which is there. We are interested in the top 20-30% of that 60%. That is our target segment, which means the top end of that segment in the rural, semi-urban and rural, where they continue to have good disposable incomes and cash flows.
So we saw that in the quarter gone by, your interest income, there was a 13-quarter high kind of growth. And now people are also, though a lot of shareholders who have logged in because there was a very long wait also, the stock did not do very well in numbers. So people who are patient are getting rewarded now. But they're also kind of little worried, can this growth rate sustain? You see any reason to of that question or worry arising, or up till now the visibility is that it may sustain?
See the visibility in terms of what I would, rather than look forward to say where it is, I will look backwards, is to say that as a bank we have consistently performed in terms of having a balance of various products across segments, right? That suits the products are there that suits the economic growth across various segments. Depending on whichever segment is growing, we use that product at that particular time. For example, 2020, 21, 22, when we clamped down on our retail offering due to credit concerns of what's happening in the market and we don't know, shrank there. But there were opportunities on the wholesale side, on the SME side, which we grew. So we have products across to use that and run. And as I mentioned earlier, the velocity at which we are growing, that is very important to look at. And we are positioning for, if anything, growth faster to capture the opportunities which are still enormously out there.
Okay. Let's move on. And Manish Sonthala, Director and CIO, Head Equities at PMS Motilal Oswal AMC, likes Paytm Zomato, believes that there is no one-size-fit-all for the new age tech stocks, and these companies will do well in the future as well. Let's go cross and listen in.
Names will actually become very big. And given the fact that a lot of them have seen more than 50% sort of a correction, I would believe, and particularly so if you look at our portfolio, we like Paytm as well as Zomato. We think that this habit formation of food delivery is irreversible as far as India is concerned. It's similar to, consumer companies. You get into that habit formation, you like the product, and then it becomes a way of life. So I think when the IPOs came for these companies, it was all about total addressable market, the TAM. Currently, we are going through a phase of the path to profitability. What is the contribution margin? When will the EBITDA be turning positive? So on and so forth. And by the way, these companies today are focusing more on profitability than growth. One size fits all for the entire new age tech companies, but there's definite value in some of them, and some of them will not only survive but grow and thrive and create a lot of.
And well, it is that time of the show where we give you all the stock specific action, and for that we have Ashesha in the studio with us. Ashesha, you have all the stocks that we need to keep on our radars for today's trading session. Take us through them.
Hi, good morning. So Yes Bank will be the first one in focus in today's trading session, and that is because lock-in period ends today. About 75% equity shares which were locked in for about 3 years, and that particular lock-in ends today. So on account of that, Yes Bank will be in focus in today's trading session. Apart from that, Lupin will also be in focus, and that is because US FDA has completed pre-approval and GNP inspection at company's API manufacturing facility at Visakhapatnam, and no observations have been received for this particular inspection. On account of that, Lupin will also be in focus in today's trading session. Also keep an eye out on IndusInd Bank, and that is because RBI has approved reappointment of Sumant Katpalia as MD and CEO for a period of 2 years with effect from March 24th. HAL, and that is because of an order win. Ministry of Defence has said that they will be procuring 6 Dornier 228 aircraft for about 667 crores from HAL. So on account of this order win that has come in, keep an eye out on HAL as well. Moving on to Shilpa Medicare, then the company has received 2 observations from US FDA for its Hyderabad plant. Dilip Bilchcon will also be in focus, and this is yet again on the back of an order win. The company has informed the exchanges that they have received completion certificate for an HAM project in Maharashtra, the cost of which stood at about 1100 crores. On account of this, keep an eye out on Dilip Bilchcon as well.
Okay, Ashesha, thank you so much for that. And those were the stocks to watch out for. But Ashesha, you're also going to be telling us about what are the important brokerages this morning. What are they saying? Which stocks have they picked out today?
Absolutely. So first up, we have a note that has come in on the banking sector. Macquarie has come out with a note where they say that lower credit costs are expected to drive multi-year high return on assets. They say EPS upgrade cycle continues, and they've gone ahead and raised EPS estimates for the entire banking sector by about 3 to 9%. They are maintaining their neutral stance on Axis Bank. Target has been raised to 940 rupees per share. They are also maintaining outperform rating on ICICI Bank, target of which has been increased to 1145 rupees per share. Apart from this, they are also maintaining outperform rating on IndusInd, target of which now stands at 1510 rupees per share. Apart from this, a note has come in on IndusInd Bank as well, where Jefferies has maintained a buy rating on the stock with a target price of 1,550 rupees per share. They say CEO term extension is a tad shorter than what was sought for. However, they see this as a reasonable time frame to demonstrate progress. They believe valuations are attractive at this juncture, which stand at about 1.4 times FY24 price to book, and hence for now they are maintaining their buy rating on IndusInd Bank with a target price of 1,550 rupees per share. Also, we have a note that has come in on TechM, where Citi has maintained its neutral rating on the stock with the target now standing at about 1,220 rupees per share. They say in the near term, they expect favorable stock price reaction on account of reappointment that has come in of Mohit Joshi. However, real test of performance will start next year once Mohit resumes his CEO role. They say they are maintaining their neutral rating on TechM with a target price of 1,120 rupees per share, and they believe neutral view is given. Industry view is cautious given the tough macroeconomic environment. So on account of this note that has come in from Citi, keep an eye out on TechM as well.
All right, Ashesha, thank you so much for that. We will be keeping an eye out on all those stocks. But with that, it's time for us to wind down on this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. You don't go anywhere. There's lots more market action coming up on The Market.